And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Another week, another bump in the polls for GOP frontrunner Donald Trump. According to the latest Reuters online survey out today, Trump now has the support of 32% of Republicans. That's up from last week's 24%. It seems like every time a politician or a pundit tries to put a ceiling on Trump's support level, that person turns out to be wrong. So, Joe, considering that Trump's hitting the 30% mark in a field of 17 candidates, which is really nothing short of extraordinary, is there a ceiling on Trump's potential? And is he quickly reaching it if there is?
I'm not answering that question anymore.
Yeah.
Our ceiling has been at 12%, 15%, 20%, 25%, 30%. It keeps going up.
It's absolutely true.
The diversity, Rick, is what's amazing. He's up 23-13 over Cruz among Tea Party. He's up 22-16 over Bush among moderates.
Right.
He's up 21-12 over Huckabee among evangelicals. He is going across the board with his appeal. And the only conclusion I can come to is no one cares about the details of what he's saying too much.
Clearly.
They are strictly in love with the attitude.
They like the hat.
That's everything.
They like the hat.
You know what? It's more than the attitude in the hat. Well, I was on vacation. I read a book by Michael Jordan's coach, and he talked about having the guts to make a decision.
High school?
Tim
Phil
somebody.
Jackson.
It's called Relentless. It's not like his personal coach. The guy who brought him to where he was. And one of the things that he talked about is having the guts to make a decision and go with it. Today, when the markets are going crazy, the only people who are candidates who tweeted about it were Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump.
Right.
Whether they're right or wrong, they're speaking to the issues. They're not afraid. They're not pussyfooting around. They're coming out and saying something, and the public wants that. I think that's a big part of it.
Doesn't Heather have a point there? I mean, everybody else seems to have to talk to their consultants, their pollsters, and these two guys, Trump and Bernie, they just get online and tell you what they think.
Well, you know, number one, we've been saying that for a while here on this show. And number two, I was just going to say, you know what? Bernie and Trump have a lot in common in this regard. And what shocks me is not the rise of Trump's levels, is that Bernie's not getting a bigger push. I would expect Sanders to start to, but he still trails Hillary by a long ways. I'm surprised he's not challenging her more, because he does exactly what Heather said. Both of these guys come out and say, whether you like it or not, this is it.
So Heather, in a political campaign, we all know timing is everything. Is Trump not running the risk now of peaking way too soon?
Absolutely. And again, we get back to policies. You know, today in one of the interviews, he was asked about a flat tax. And first he said he liked it. Then he described that he would really prefer a progressive tax. Right.
So that's clear. What actually happened was he said he liked a flat tax, but then he said, but I think the rich should pay a higher percentage of.
There should be some
and that's
graduation.
completely inconsistent. That's not what a flat tax is.
And that's the problem. With policies, he has got to have some, and he's got to stick with them and not just kind of go with what people like as opposed to what he actually stands for.
Joe, I mean, look, you know how political campaigns go. It's when you get there that matters. And, you know, I mean, I suppose Trump could go to over 50%, meaning he'd have it wrapped up if the election were on that day. Isn't there a pretty good chance here that it happening so early could be devastating for him in the long run?
It's funny, his speech in Mobile, he said, I want to have the election tomorrow. I don't want to wait. There's a risk in that.
That's right.
He's at the quarter pole, and he's lapping the field already.
That's right.
So can he peak? Here's my problem. I don't know who then takes the mantle. Who's going to catch fire and really become the guy who challenges him? Everybody else, besides Jeb Bush, who he's doubling in that poll, everybody else is 25 points behind him. Might be too much to overcome.
So while some believe that Donald Trump is the right guy to confront the problems presented by China being what we all think caused our trouble today, the editor of futureofcapitalism.com, his name is Ira Stoll, seems to believe that Mr. Trump is responsible for the problems that we had today.
For my part, I blame Donald Trump. Mr. Trump's policies are the opposite of the pro-growth approach, and he takes aim at your immigration, your trade, and your taxes.
Wow, that's amazing. He blames me. I'm the one that's telling everybody what's going wrong and what's going to go wrong. And frankly, I'm the one that says you better start uncoupling from China, because China's got problems, and they have big problems, and they're bringing us down. So for this guy, I never heard of him. I have no idea who he is. And, you know, he's probably not very good at what he does. But to blame me is incredible, because I'm the one that says uncouple.
Well, to be fair, Trump has indeed been saying uncouple. He thinks there needs to be more of a split between the Asian markets and the United States markets. Does his understanding of the fact that when China catches a cold, the rest of the world can come down with the flu suggest that maybe he is the right man to lead the nation for the next few years, Bill?
Well, because he makes a sentient observation doesn't mean he's got a solution to that problem.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to say we need to uncouple from them. It's another thing to look at the reality of the fact they're the number 2 borrower of our debt behind Japan. How do we get out of that arrangement with Asia? When he gives I love listening to the guy, and he's as entertaining as it gets. But until he starts putting some solutions on the table, he hasn't gotten me yet.
Well, that's what he says. I'm the guy who's telling everybody what's wrong. Yes, he is. But now how do you fix it? And that's where he does, for me, he's lacking. I'd like him to come forward and say, yes, uncouple, and this is how to do it. I think really, Carly is the only person who tends to do that.
Well, but is
Look at me for.
Because you know I love him.
He's a
I'm going to
Casey
look
guy
at
over
you
there.
because I have to ask the question, is there anything even remotely realistic about the idea of uncoupling the world markets in today's day and age? It strikes me as ridiculous to even conceive of it. We saw it today, what happens. China catches a cold, in this case a bad cold, and we all get the flu all over the world. Why would Trump think he could change that situation?
Because that's part of his bravado, that
Well,
he could
bravado
take on
is not
China
policy,
and Mexico and Japan
Yeah.
and bring all the jobs back. That's just part of the platform. Again, it's about attitude and confidence. He doesn't even need details right now. Will he at one point? I think so.
Well, you know, I hope so, and that's what I find so frightening about all
What do you think
this.
of Carl Icahn joining his campaign?
Don't even go there with me.
Really?
But we're
Yeah.
422 days out, is that right? 422
something like
days
that.
out.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
a way.
say that polling in 300 days out has no influence whatsoever. It's really the economy and whether or not we're at war. So we'll see what happens with the economy in that time left.
But he's no Giuliani, and he's no Bachman, and he's no Kane. I think there's
He's
a lot
not.
more
Oh,
staying
no,
power
no,
because he's far more
absolutely.
entertaining.
All right, guys, here's the question for everybody watching. Can Donald Trump help the global economy, or is he the problem, as that editor said? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up next, does Hillary Clinton have a second email server? Stay tuned.